Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the transit of Jupiter in Taurus, which will be happening from May 16th, 2023 until May 25th, 2024. In this video, I will be bringing you some intuitive messages about this transit, as well as talking about some of the other configurations that will be happening during the time of the transit, though I'm mostly just going to focus on talking about the archetypes and general expectations that are going to be in play during this 1 year period of time. So thank you all so much for being here. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below if you enjoy the video and turn on the bell notifications. Okay, so yes, let's talk about Jupiter in Taurus. Okay, so first of all, I feel that most of us are kind of in for an easier time with this transit. I feel that a lot of what people are receiving during this time has been hard won. Of course, the sign of Taurus is the natural second house. It is the energy of earnings, the energy of material world, as well as food and what we work to receive. Okay, for example, the second, 8th house axis in astrology is the axis of money, typically, the second house being the money that you work for, and the 8th house being more like inheritance or equity and things like that. So we are, of course, putting Jupiter into Taurus, which is going to expand the energy of the collective second house, which means that a lot of people will really be earning something here, or will be changing or seeing an expansion in what they are able to bring into their lives. It's a very passive and receptive Jupiter, which will feel, of course, very different from the Jupiter in Aries we've had, which has been a go, 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 really hard-pushing, laborious energy. And of course, that makes sense. I feel that a lot of people with Jupiter in Taurus will be basically receiving for a very long time based on the energy that they output with Jupiter in Aries. Okay, so if we're combining the energy of this Jupiter in Taurus with some of the other messages that have been coming up about the year cycle of 2023, what I'm feeling is that this is a wonderful time for basically recharging, recentering yourself, and receiving based on the hard work that has been done. We've come from a multi-year period of time where a lot of people had to push so hard or work really diligently to create a certain foundation or to change the momentum of their lives. And a lot of the messages that have come up about the year of 2023 have been regarding simplifying, kind of making more sensible structures, not having to work so inefficiently. And if I combine those ideas with this energy of Jupiter and Taurus, this expansion of earning, or this expansion also in the category of food, finance, material well-being, I'm thinking that a lot of people need basically a period of time to not push so hard. Because in the greater context, when we go into 2024, and especially once we get Jupiter in Gemini, right, with Gemini season in May of 2024, I think there's going to be a really hard push, and I think that people are going to have to really be capable of flying high and also really concentrating and pushing or focusing or having a certain capacity to really take things to a certain, and I don't want to say an extreme, but it's definitely going to be a lot more energetically potent, what a lot of people are going to be attempting next year. So with that in mind, I feel like this year period of time for a lot of people is just best for reception, recovery, basically coming into a greater period of recharging and starting to receive in a way that isn't so inefficient. Jupiter in Taurus also has a lot to do with economics. It has a lot to do with what is coming into our lives, into our households. Again, like that reception energy. So I think that a lot of people will be focusing more here. One of the things that I have written down for this is that there's going to probably be an expansion in philosophies relating to environmentalism. I also think that the color green will really expand, and the way that that is, of course, maybe branded in other movements, so green movements, environmental movements, Also changes in agricultural economies. And actually what I'm seeing is potentially a decrease in consumerism and an increase in a savings mentality. So I'm seeing a lot of people like not being satisfied with like spending their entire paycheck. So living paycheck to paycheck. I'm seeing a lot of expansion in like creative ways to no longer live paycheck to paycheck. I'm definitely seeing people working together or living together or kind of like maybe like new roommate cultures or new like cultures that bring people together with like a teamwork to transcend some type of paycheck to paycheck philosophy. But it's going to be hard for some people because I also feel that creature comforts increase with Jupiter and Taurus. So with Jupiter and Taurus, people really want to live that kind of like noble lifestyle. They want to have like an abundance of food, an abundance of money, an abundance of also like land or real earth, okay? So I'm definitely seeing also an increase in like tourism, parks, national parks, national forests, maybe an increase, and I think this is awesome, like increasing nationally protected forests, so like expanding them outwards, but then there could be maybe like conflicts with that process of expansion, but more protections on Earth and also less, this kind of depends obviously on the geographic region, but a harder time getting land for the use of something like drilling or even certain agricultural practices, but rather a new philosophy kind of emerging that things should be kind of allowed to upkeep themselves, or things relating to the earth should be allowed to be self-sufficient rather than so much human intervention or so much trying to make things like profitable, okay, at a more natural level. So protected waterways, protected forests, environmental movements that perhaps encourage greater protection of natural spaces. Something that's connecting to this is actually the sextile that Jupiter will be making with Saturn a few times during this transit. So Saturn in Pisces to Jupiter in Taurus. This is wonderful, you all. The sextile angle is the best angle that you can have, in my opinion, with Jupiter and Saturn because they're naturally antithetical, so they're naturally conflicted. Any type of conjunction, square, or opposition, quincunx, any of those harder angles with Jupiter and Saturn are very difficult. So when you have the sextile or the trine, it indicates that things start to kind of like have consensus and there starts to be a flow. I suppose that this can be good or bad, but I mainly see it as a good thing because what it's going to do is it's going to be like we don't really understand how it happened, but things are just kind of better for some people. Also, we don't really understand how it happened, but this smaller income is giving me more, okay? We don't understand how it happened, but this less sugary diet that I thought I would hate is totally transforming my health. And it's not as hard as I thought it would be. I'm seeing a lot of people coming into this transit of Jupiter and Taurus with a really difficult, okay, you guys, this is so important to talk about. It's after we had those Saturn-Uranus squares in 2021 and 2, and the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions as well, the crazy Capricorn triple conjunctions of 2020, people are so in their own ways with the positive changes they need to make. So getting in their own way, like mental blocks, not energy knots with the way that we think it's just going to be so hard to get on that good diet, or it's going to be so hard or impossible to implement a healthy budget. But I think that this transit of Jupiter and Taurus will be really supportive for people who just do it. And they're going to be like maybe really surprised at how easy it ends up being, or how quick, that excess weight starts coming off, how quickly the savings start to build. I'm seeing a lot of things, and this is so positive, as a positive potential for this transit is like, whoa, I didn't even have to try that hard. The weight just started coming off and the savings just started building up and the food is already like better. There's a really good energy line and it's sort of a channel here, very open to a lot of people for gaining a much more comprehensive well-being. And I think that it's probably going to really start with food for a lot of people. So I've been talking a lot about food lately in a lot of my videos, but I think that it's going to be the root of most things, and taking more time with your own meals, or making sure that you're sourcing your ingredients for your meals as well as you can. It's quite impossible with the way that things are right now, and it's hard, but I think it could get easier here, or maybe there will be new options, or there will be more ability to get healthier. Jupiter in Taurus is very focused on the health. Now, offsetting this, I will say creature comforts, right? I was just saying that. Chocolate, Jupiter in Taurus. Yeah, there can also be negative comfort regimes that can really expand. So now I need, 3 frappuccinos a day. Or now I need to have like cupboard stocked full of like chocolate or sugar or cocoa powder or something. And meanwhile, the cupboards don't have anything like flour or, rice or beans or anything like that. And it's like, I'm seeing like people dedicating portions of their house to things that are totally like nebulous, like refrigerators for skincare and like comfort cupboards full of like iced coffee powder and like sugar and stuff. And that can definitely happen. And you want to really care for the spaces in your house as well, and make sure that they're not like too frivolous. Okay, so like using space frivolously, that could happen with Jupiter and Taurus. Also, closets full of clothes with tags still on them, while like the clothes that you actually wear are kind of like scattered around. Things that don't really make sense like that. That's another side effect of the Jupiter-Saturn sextile that we'll be having with Pisces and Taurus. Things can be like really out of order like that too. Like the things that are actually necessary in your life have no system, but all the things that are unnecessary in your life are totally like systemized and placed where like the things you actually need are. Also having strange travel routines, so like living multiple different places. I'm seeing that for a lot of people too, like having an apartment here and then like a family home like 200 miles away, and then maybe like investment properties like another 200 miles away, and like a lot of chaos and having to like vacillate between different places. That's not so much just about Jupiter and Taurus, but it's a combination of the other astrology that we're having, Pluto and Aquarius, squaring Jupiter and Taurus. It's never going to be exact, but it's just by sign. And then the sextile to Saturn, the nodal axis also not being in a favorable angle to Jupiter and Taurus, so it'll be in Aries and Libra, of course, for the most of it. Now, at the very beginning of the transit, the nodal axis will be in the sign of Jupiter, and there is, of course, this conjunction that's going to happen, which I should probably make a video about, or just talk a little bit about it here. At the very beginning of the transit, Jupiter will conjoin the nodal axis, which means that yes, all of this that I'm saying about reception and cutting back and simplifying is valid. At the same time, through that, there's going to be much more space to like activate into major purpose, but that's going to be transient, and that's only going to last for about the first month of the transit, okay? Until about mid-July, actually. So like, yeah, first 2 months actually of the transit. There's going to be a major purpose activation, and people are going to kind of know what they need to do. But I feel that that's going to be followed by like a time of rest and a time of like kind of preparation before things really kick off in later 2024 as a general collective timeline. But to not lose the previous point that I was making, the fact that the nodal axis for most of this transit will be in the semi-sextile and, yes, of course, quincunx angle between Aries and Libra to Jupiter and Taurus, it's going to mean that there's going to be something that's kind of like, for some people, residually chaotic. Like I was saying, like going around to different places, having to kind of be inefficient. And that's why it's so good to kind of like heal up the efficiency now and kind of get things in a better order. But, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think that a lot of people have been working on getting more order and efficiency in their life for ever since the Saturn-Uranus squares, really. Or even earlier, even since 2019, and maybe people are getting so far, but it's like there could be a frustration during this transit. Yes, very easy to have this frustration in this transit where it's like, oh my god, I've been like pushing so hard for so long to get things better, and it's still not there, and it's like kind of 9 of Wands energy, a little bit with the way the nodes are connecting to this Jupiter transit. But don't fear, because through this period of time, I think that a lot of people will get completion and will get things to a certain efficient foundational level if they keep putting one foot in front of the other and working with time. Like, time is such a great asset with this transit, especially with the positive angles to Jupiter and Saturn. If you can kind of stretch things out and take your time, or not force yourself to push so hard, it will definitely be better with this transit. Let's see, what else do I have written down here? Okay, this is important. So weight and heaviness, density, and focus on the real world. This can be at a level of body, but also like material things like buildings or institutions that are taking place in certain buildings, or business, residential buildings can kind of like be a problem in this transit. On one hand, there can be like new apartment buildings or like new type of residential cultures with Jupiter and Taurus, but also like maybe older buildings or older things. Because again, remember, Taurus is the material sign, and then Jupiter is an expander. So anything relating to housing, buildings, offices, anything like that can really do well and have good luck and good efficiency. But I'm also feeling that problems, of course, because Jupiter can also intensify problems. It expands whatever it touches. Problems with this increase in rent prices, definitely. And maybe like an attempt to build new buildings, like new residential zones, to like add more supply, to like try to decrease the rent, but maybe it's not going to really work like that. I am definitely seeing, and you might already be seeing this like here in May of 2023, action just has to happen with like real world tangible stuff. So renovating a house, clearing out abandoned houses or vacant places. And having to take that action. And the point being that things get way less cerebral and in the mind, and actual action that affects real things in the real world are where it's at with Jupiter and Taurus. So things are going to be changing in the real space, and it's not just going to be so confined to the mental space as it really has since about 2020. So that's a big shift that we will be seeing with this transit. It's debilitated to be stuck in the head or to be overthinking or not taking action with this transit. What else do I want to talk about? More positive philosophies on value, on materialism, and quote unquote what it takes, I have written down. So what it takes to do something, like what it takes to open that business, what it takes to get things copacetic, or to get things in your life like materially like well. That philosophy relating to what it takes to do this stuff will change. Okay, so people are going to rebudget, reappropriate, rethink what they have to go through, or also what they're willing to go through. That's another thing with Jupiter and Taurus. A lot of people are like, I'm not willing to put myself through that anymore just to have this, okay? Even though this is giving back to me, even though this is functional, I'm not willing to put myself through 9 of Wands or 10 of Wands to have this. And I'm seeing a lot of people cutting ties. Especially when Jupiter gets into Gemini, after the duration of this transit, there's going to be a major like Queen of Swords, King of Swords energy, where people start cutting ties left, right, and center, and re-bonding themselves to other things. So quitting jobs in favor of other jobs, and also like energy of like going on strike as well. And I'm seeing a lot of people doing this at a very personal level in their lives. Like, I'm not willing to keep lending that person money. I'm not willing to keep paying that person's bills. I'm not willing to be leached off of, like parasite energy being very clear at the very beginning of this transit when Jupiter is on that nodal axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Like, there's going to be a very strong realization if there's any sort of like parasitic bond or any kind of like unfair exchange. And I think that even by like the first quarter of this transit, so by July, August, definitely by September of 2023, there's just going to be like a total knowing of like what is not okay to be spending our time on or to be like giving back to. So anything that's evocative of like blood, sweat, and tears, or so much spending or investment just to get things copacetic, should be concluding by that first quarter of the transit. So by September of 2023, it's important to have things kind of like less overwhelming if you can. And because there's this philosophy change coming at a collective level regarding like what we're willing to do, what it takes to do something, And then also new positive philosophies coming in about value and about this specifically too. It's a good thing that's happening there. Support. More support for some people with Jupiter and Taurus. The energy of Taurus is a supportive sign, and Jupiter is an increaser, so increase of support. Try to give it back as well. If you have someone who's supporting you, what I'm already seeing even at the very beginning of this transit is like support just coalesces, or it's like you're trying so hard to like get things together, and then all of a sudden there's just like sudden support or sudden assistance. Try to give it back. If someone supports you, try to support them back. And I think that we can create a greater collective network of support through this transit. What else do I want to talk about? As for tarot archetypes, I'm definitely seeing in the positive side. For this transit, the Nine of Pentacles, beautiful, one of my favorite cards in the tarot. The World, of course, the King and Queen of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles. Also, there on the more difficult side, there can be like the energy of the Tower, and neither negative nor positive, like the Judgment card, because there's just so much like realization at a philosophical level for people about what they're again willing to go through to do things. So that can create kind of a collapse for some people, or a walking away, or a realization, which can definitely kind of be a threat to the old way that things were functioning. So for that reason, the Tower and the Judgment card. Other minor arcana that I feel for this transit, I mean, really like the whole Pentacles suit, of course, because this is so earthy, but other than Pentacles cards, probably, I don't know, 3 and 4 of Cups, both like support networks again. 3 of Cups, and then 4 of Cups, like that inner realization and inner comprehension about, or the time that it takes to really come to these positive philosophical evolutions, and the emotional clarity and the emotional stillness that it also takes, and consistency too. New form of consistency coming up here, new ideals on upkeep, on maintenance, on real world systems and processes are getting a major update at the collective level, with Pluto also being in Aquarius when this transit goes into place. Keep in mind, we've just had Pluto change signs right before this Jupiter transit happened, so it's charged. And yes, of course, right when this Jupiter transit is happening, they are exactly square, right? So 0 degree Jupiter in Taurus and 0 degree Pluto in Aquarius. And then there's that conjunction of the nodes at the very beginning as well. So that's powerful, and that's drastically transformative to like global systems, to even microsystems, personal systems, and mindsets. Drastically transformative. Long running, real world things changing suddenly and quickly. A lot of haste with real world changes, which is going to be a little bit chaotic. I mentioned in a previous video things in the real world which have been associated with being something for such a long time, like a store that's been in your community forever, maybe changing into a hotel or something different. Like I'm seeing a lot of people kind of like psychologically challenged with like things in the real world becoming something different, and at a very fast pace, in a very hasty way. Things changing in the real world will be the center, I think, of this Jupiter and Taurus transit, but as it progresses and as it gets through, especially like the halfway point, so around like calendar new year of 2024, around January, things will actually relax a lot and be at a height of recharging and preparing for Jupiter and Gemini, which will be much more mentally active and much more stimulating. So it's nice to not be too stimulated during this transit, because we're both the time before this transit and the time after are very stimulating. So to have more peace and recharge is what I would focus the most during this transit. And on that note, everyone, I think it's a very positive transit. I think that this general astrology, while it's very powerful, it doesn't feel to me quite as chaotic or pushing to the limit as the previous few years of the astrology. So there's just a good chance for bringing peace, bringing healing, bringing rejuvenation, and healthier ideals into your life, but it has to be very intentional, and we also have to allow it as well. One major error that I see with this transit is people having these like plans, and then like the universe coming in and supporting it maybe in a different way, and people not allowing it because we already have a plan of how we want to do things. So like bypassing the universal support is a challenge that I've already seen in my own life, and I'm seeing it in a lot of other people's lives too. And it's just so healing to allow that universal support in and to let things sometimes be fixed for you or be resolved without you having to do it yourself. But yeah, a lot of people are very, very extremely deep in ego right now, and they will not allow someone else, something else, or some type of other possibility. It's got to be their way, and it's got to be them who gets the credit, and it's got to be them who, like, you know, carries the boulder up the mountain on the back alone. And there will be people who want to take credit as well with this transit, with how receptive it is and how sweet it is to, like, be someone credited, or how sweet it is to be someone who gets to be, like, thanked or gets to have some type of reward or something. Careful about doing all the work yourself and then someone else, like, basically taking the credit. And if that happens, you almost just have to let it happen, because, you know, it's not so great to, like, be that person who, you know, shows how things really are in that context. But I think that we maybe have to trust that, like, it will come back in a universal way. Or if, you know, someone else does something like that to us, I think that we have to trust that it's going to be resolved maybe by the universe or by some type of greater karmic force, rather than being that ourselves. Yeah, there's a shift between, like, an individual feeling like they have to be the one who, like, you know, tells people how it is or who cheated who, or and rather a movement more towards, like, letting time tell it or letting something else come through. But the main point of this final message is, like, ego and people's need to be the one who's, like, the leader of the family, or the leader of the like the vanity thing or the arrogant thing. It will happen naturally, like, who actually gets the reward. And there's really no, like, politicking or no, like, also, like, stealing of thunder or anything like that that can really change the actual momentum that's at play, because this is going to be a really reassuring thing for some of you, but for others this might be a little bit scary. It's already been done, okay? So the work, I feel, from about 2019 until about February of 2023, what was done during that time is what has set the hierarchies, and really the not necessarily the hierarchies, but the momentums at the very least, or the proof is in that pudding back there. And there's nothing that, like, really 2023 or 2024, like, oh, now I want to have it, or now I want to take credit for something, or now I want to, like, be the one who, like, people are respecting. It's gonna be traced back and cited back to where we were over these last few years and what we were focusing on then, for quite a long time to come, because of that Capricorn stellium, the Saturn-Uranus squares, and yeah, also the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions from last year too. This is very strong spiritual, just sort of, like, unspoken or unseen grit or capacity that just is there for the people who've worked for it, and won't be for the people who, like, don't want to work for it, or don't want to, like, you know, actually exhibit, you know, the charity or the work or the service that it takes to, like, actually be in these more egotistical positions. It's going to be there. All right. So don't freak yourself out, and don't sort of dim your own light by wondering, like, are people trying to, like, you know, use their ego to steal thunder, or to take something that has not been worked for by them. All right. There's probably going to be things like that come up here. And it's reassuring for a lot of us to know that it doesn't really matter at this point, because the things are so deeply set. Okay. With, you know, this new Pluto, having had Pluto in Capricorn for so long, it's really set. So, I hope that you guys are reassured by that and that you trust in your own momentums and your own creative processes. And overall, we have a very, very positive, prosperous, abundant transit here, full of new level support, full of also rewards based on this hard work that a lot of people have done, and really moving out of that Ten of Wands energy and more so into like a Nine of Pentacles energy, if you like. So I'm going to conclude the video. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to check out the description box below. This channel is on Patreon. I do premium T-chats over there, which forecast the week ahead, which are very popular. And I really enjoy that space because it's very safe and very enjoyable for us all to come together in community. Also, I have other links below, other socials and an ebook that I have as well if you would like to support this channel. Do hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications, and comment below and let me know what you thought of it. So have a great, great transit. Happy Jupiter in Taurus. I love this transit. Jupiter loves Venus, right? Jupiter and Venus are the sacred benefics, so Jupiter in Taurus is wonderful. I should have said that at the beginning of the video. Jupiter in Venus sign is one of the best places for Jupiter to ever be. And then also the fact that it's in positive angle to Saturn throughout pretty much all of this transit means that we have a lot of like good luck here and good fortune. Absolutely. If we're willing to allow it. Okay. Have a great transit, everyone. Bye.